What went on behind closed doors at a beachside bungalow at Hawke's Nest 4 years ago shocked the nation. A 7-year-old girl, well known to docs and several government departments as a child at risk, was starved to death by her drug-addicted parents, who were later found guilty of murder and manslaughter and are now in prison. But they're not the only ones who have been punished. Another family connected to this appalling crime has also been forced to pay a high price for the events of 2007. The problem is they're completely innocent of any wrongdoing. Caro Meldrum-Hanna reports.
To an outsider, life looks pretty good for Chris and Deborah Alexiou. But for almost 4 years, they've been trapped in an ongoing emotional and financial nightmare.
Everything's just coming down on us and we haven't done anything wrong. We've done everything by the book, but yet we're the ones struggling. I can't see the logic.
Today, life for Chris and Deborah and their teenage daughter Zoe barely resembles what they once had, when 12 years ago they realised their dream of owning a holiday house by the beach in Hawke's Nest, north of Newcastle.
The first year was Christmas, and Chris was out in the windsurfer, and I was out there on the beach yelling at him to come in because the baked dinner for our lunch was ready and he was too busy watching the dolphins out there. It was special time.
Seeing my wife and my daughter on the beach yelling, "Come and have dinner," and I said, "This is paradise. This is the place to be." And we were supposed to keep it and basically make it our retirement home.
But as the demands of Chris's Sydney business grew, the Alexius decided to rent out their cherished piece of paradise. And in August 2007, a couple whose names cannot be broadcast for legal reasons applied to lease the property through the Alexius real estate agent.
They were from Department of Housing. The question Deborah and I had asked the agent was, how can they afford the rent?
And the agent actually said to me, they can afford it. They're getting more, the amount of social security they were getting was more than what most couples would get if only the husband was working up there.
This is a copy of the original rental reference Housing New South Wales provided to the Alexius real estate agent. More than 30 pages of the couple's payment history for their public housing home in the suburb of Matraville. The real estate agent also made this note of a telephone conversation she had with the Housing New South Wales officer by the name of Alana, who assured her the property was well kept and the rent paid on time. The Alexius were further assured by the applicant himself.
And he said he wanted a better life on the application. He wanted a better life for his wife and kids.
And he's at home all the time and he can look after the house and, wow, how perfect is that?
Perfect tenant almost.
Perfection, or at least the appearance of it, lasted just 2.5 months, when one evening in early November, the Alexius turned on the television.
A 7-year-old girl is believed to have starved to death at her home near Hawke's Nest, north of Newcastle. The homicide squad is investigating.
And all we could see was the blue and white of our house out the front, and police everywhere.
We were expecting a phone call from somebody to let us know what is actually happening. So we just had to sit and just wait, and 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just kept going and on and on.
The Alexius were left in the dark. Their pleas to multiple authorities for help went unanswered. They couldn't gain access to their property or remove anything or anyone from their house.
Basically, we had to take them to a tribunal to evict them, even though they were in jail.
You also had to clean up that house.
Correct.
Christy.
Yeah. Because I had no one to speak to, or no one contacted me, I just had to take it upon myself to clean it out.
This chilling home video offers a rare glimpse into the horror 7-year-old Ebony suffered at the hands of her parents.
So this is how the house has been left. A mess, as I showed you earlier. That's the room where she was. The very first time I opened the door, I can never forget the odour, the stench that was in there that just hit me, and that's the part that I'll never forget, that smell. Just a dirty place, very dirty, like as though there was rotten animals. There wasn't, but that's what it smelled like. Something was really rotting away. But that's when I discovered it was faeces and urine in the room. And it's the parents' room in the background. And this is room where she slept. And this is all that's been. It's been cleaned up slightly. The carpet's been sprayed with some sort of deodorant and bacteria-eating stuff, so there's quite a foul smell in here. As you can see, there's all this carpet sort of been cleaned up to a certain extent. I'll close that door. It's very smelly. There was something else disturbing, which when I dismantled the bunk beds themselves to remove them, there was a rope tied to underneath one of the base of the bed, which disturbed me, and also there was the same similar rope tied to a bed head. Anyone could just imagine what it was used for. It's not something that you would find on a bed. So my imagination just went crazy thinking what it was possibly used for.
The suggestion being that perhaps she was tied down.
Yes. Because there was no locks on the door, I'm assuming that to prevent her from opening the door and leaving the room.
Eventually, Ebony's parents were found guilty of her death. Emaciated, Ebony weighed just 9 kilograms when she died. During the trial, an officer from Housing New South Wales, the couple's previous landlord, admitted the department was well aware of the parents' poor record at their public housing home in Matraville.
There were cockroach infestations. The walls were filthy. The stove was absolutely putrid. Beside the fridge, cans and rubbish were piled up. It was just in an appalling state.
That's when it all started coming out.
Everything started to unravel.
From tradesmen not wanting to repair things there, to the truckloads of rubbish, and it just kept going on from there. And I said, my God, what have we got here?
Despite this being documented in the couple's file with Housing New South Wales, that very same department and landlord gave a glowing reference recommending the couple to the Alexius real estate agent. The Alexius now believe that reference was misleading and false, and it's left them with a house no one will buy and no one will rent.
By law, you must declare either rental or sale. You must declare that there's been a murder in the property. And that's when everyone goes cold on them, and that's it.
In August 2010, the Alexius took legal action, suing the Keneally government and seeking compensation for the mess. A year earlier, they won support from the then Liberal opposition, who condemned the Labor Party for not purchasing the property.
The Alexios want the government to purchase the house, demolish it and create a park in honour of Ebony. It would be a place the community can go to mourn her and ensure she is not forgotten, as she was in life. It seems to me it's the least this government can do. And now, as the motion states, the Alexios want justice. They want the government to purchase the property, a request supported by the New South Wales opposition.
And it is absolutely the least this government could do to respect the decent thing, and to do the decent thing and respect the rights of homeowners who innocently and for all the right reasons make their houses available to people who have been tenants of the Department of Housing and are now looking for housing elsewhere. I commend the motion to the House.
Prue Gower, she encouraged me. She was there when I went into Parliament, held my hand. Hadn't when I was crying out the front when it was all over, when nothing was done.
This family have gone through one trauma, having to clean up this home after this incident. They've been put through a second trauma by a heartless state government that won't sit down and talk to them.
Anthony Roberts, our local MP here, or who it was at the time, we went to him because he was our local guy here and we thought he could help. All along he promised, yes, we'll help. As soon as we get in, we'll be able to help.
What's happened?
Nothing.
Because they did win?
Nothing.
Possibly, because they did win.
Call after call after call. They don't want to know me now.
Hi Deb, how are you?
Good. How are you?
One source of support that hasn't disappeared is Howard Brown, Vice President of the Victims of Crime Assistance League.
Hello, Howard.
Young Chris, how are you, mate?
How are you? Nice to see you again.
Well, mate, I'm probably doing better than you are.
For sure.
For 4 years now, he's been helping the Alexius cope with the mounting financial and emotional stresses.
It's really important that you stay strong through this process, because the way this operates, right, and the way the government operates in these cases, is they'll just keep wearing you down and wearing you down and wearing you down to the point where you say, this is all too hard, and we're just going to give up.
The Alexius are now facing imminent financial ruin. They may soon be forced to sell their Sydney home just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, Ministers Anthony Roberts and Prue Goward both refused interviews with 7:30. Premier Barry O'Farrell's office also declined to comment, as the matter is before the court.
The O'Farrell government has come into power, and all of a sudden they found out that to honour the promises that they have made to the Alexius family, they expose themselves to millions and millions and millions of dollars, because it's not just the Alexius.
We've done nothing wrong. I want my family back. I want my financial status back. I want this sorted now, but I'm not giving up.